Good morning. Bright sunny day in Madison. We're very excited to have all of you here today. I want to try to keep us on track as early as I can at the start of the day, because invariably I will end up 5 to 15 to an hour off it by the end of the day. So even though we say this will end at 4:30, if we just adjust our schedules to 5:30, 6 o'clock, that's a good goal right now. No, I think we'll be able to keep on track. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to those of you that, I'm not sure if we're webcasting this part of it, but for those of you that are joining us online, thank you for attending today. To start us off, we are very fortunate to have the Dean of the School of Education, Dr. Diana Hess, here to welcome us all to the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the wonderful education building. So I'm going to turn it over to Dean Hess to start us off.
Great. Thanks so much, and good morning, everyone. You'll be pleased to know that the weather we ordered has arrived. When we had graduation last Saturday, it literally hailed, which was stunning. So we're very happy that we're back on track with what the weather should be. I want to welcome you and thank you for coming. We have presenters from 12 national research projects on technical assistance centers discussing their investigations and efforts to improve vocational rehabilitation services and to support the full inclusion of persons with disabilities. We are particularly excited to have our keynote speaker from Virginia, Dr. Paul Wayman. He'll be keynoting the symposium. As you know, he's world famous for his research of supported employment and transition of youth with disabilities to adult life. Attending the conference, we have 134 people in person. You come from state vocational rehabilitation agencies, from the Veterans Administration, from community rehabilitation programs, and researchers and educators from across the country. We're also very pleased that the symposium is going to be broadcast via webcast, and we have numerous federal and state agencies who are dedicated to improving the participation of people with disabilities in employment and community living who will be participating virtually. As you know, the symposium focuses on the efforts of the Research and Rehabilitation and Training Center on evidence-based practice in vocational rehabilitation to generate knowledge and evidence-based vocational rehab practices to improve employment rates and the quality of employment for people with disabilities. I'm very happy to welcome you here, and I know this is going to be a very exciting couple of days. I've looked at the agenda very carefully. It looks great. I'm going to try to pop in and out as much as I can. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss this exciting keynote because we've got a group of people from China who just arrived, and I'm running across campus to welcome them. But I will try to pop in later to see how you're doing. And again, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for the faculty and staff here in the School of Ed for organizing this event.
Thank you, Dean Hess. Well, I think we'll jump right in, and since I didn't assign somebody else to do this, I think I've taken the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker. I wish I would have prepared something more, but if I could just direct everyone's attention to Wikipedia, that's the easiest way for me to start this. You know you've made it when you have your own Wikipedia page. So, from Dr. Wayman's Wikipedia, Dr. Wayman is a professor of physical medicine and rehabilitation at Virginia Commonwealth University and an early pioneer of supported employment. Dr. Wayman's interests are in transition from school to work, supported employment, business partnerships, and return to work. Dr. Wayman is chairman for the Division of Rehabilitation Research at Virginia Commonwealth University School of Medicine, with joint appointments in the Departments of Special Education and Disability Policy and in Rehabilitation Counseling. He is the Chief Research Officer for the Virginia Commonwealth Center for Rehabilitation Science and Engineering, an interdisciplinary research unit furthering the science and serving the needs of persons with disabilities. He has written, co-authored, or edited 43 commercially published books and written over 200 journal articles, mostly in the transition and employment areas. He is on several editorial boards and has been the editor for the Journal of Vocational Rehabilitation since 1991 to the present. So if you've got a wonderful note from the editor, you can thank him later on. If you've gotten a poor review, again, he doesn't do the reviews, he just sends them along. But if you can all join me in welcoming Dr. Paul Wayman, our keynote speaker.
Thanks, Tim. Well, you know, when you get to be old, you should have done something, okay? And when you read that thing, you know, it's it's nice to hear, I guess, but I think, I'd rather have on my tombstone he was a good guy rather than he wrote 43, whatever the books or chapters or whatever. But anyhow, first of all, I am definitely psyched about being here. I want to thank Fong and Tim for letting me come back to my roots, because this is, along with a large number of University of Wisconsin Mafia, I mean, this is the group, okay? And all you young people that are still potentially in doctoral programs, just know that, as I was telling my brother on Tuesday, I mean, I'm basically at the Harvard of rehabilitation. Well, Michigan State's right there behind it, okay? I mean, Michigan State and University of Wisconsin, all the graduates end up becoming professors at all the other schools. I mean, I was looking at UT Panama for some reason the other day, and it looked like 3/4 of their people all came from Mike Leahy's program, okay? So, and Wisconsin obviously has a ton of people, and so I'm really thrilled to be here, and I also got kind of like red meat from Tim Tansey when I said, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, this is your big conference, and he said, well, do whatever you want to do, okay? I mean, so I get to basically talk about what I want to talk about. And so I'm calling them critical issues, all right? The fact of the matter is there's not going to be anything magical in what I say, but I hope the way I say it and the fact that there's plenty of video, because my wife told me, don't use graphs, don't use too many words, make sure that you use video. Excellent head nodding there, man in red shirt, okay? Exactly. I mean, so there will be about 15 minutes of video, basically showing off some of our research, but then also kind of giving you some examples of how these issues have life, okay? Before I start the PowerPoint, let me just say that I think that we are really in a sweet spot in voc rehab right now. And I like to broaden it, that we're in a sweet spot related to disability. You have employment first states all over the country that are trying to do employment first. Some are doing it better than others. You have the Department of Justice trampling through a number of states, scaring the hell out of people, all right? I was just talking to somebody who's a friend of a governor in a Midwest state, and he's like, hey, do you know if we're gonna be the next state that they're gonna come into? I said, I don't know, but I can find out, okay? Because Oregon, had that big settlement to shut all the workshops there. Of course, it's gonna take 10 years, but it's still the thought. Okay, you got Rhode Island, you got Delaware, you got Georgia, of course, Virginia, all right? I mean, we're 47th or 44th or something like that. So, and so you've got voc rehab is being asked to work with schools and take some of their money. 3 head noddings, good, excellent, okay. We don't need any more laws. Please, no more laws, okay? We've written so many laws. Let's just enforce the laws, and let's implement the laws, and let's do them at a decent quality, right? Okay, so we are going to start jumping here, and when we get to the video, it's going to go dark, so you'll be able to see the video better. But so to me, I've got 6 issues. 6 issues, all right? And I wouldn't let them give you the PowerPoint ahead of time because I didn't want you to cheat looking ahead, all right? That's true. You would. You wouldn't pay attention to what we're saying here. So to me, one of the first primary issues is helping those with most severe disabilities enter competitive employment. And why do I say that? Do I say that because I built my career on that? Partly, okay? But I also say that because that is how we will be determined. That's how we will be assessed by people in the community. That's how the parents of individuals with Down syndrome, the parents in the International Dyslexia Association, that's what they will think of voc rehab and, for that matter, special education. Are you just taking the easy people, or are you taking the people who have greater need for more support? Now, let me clarify myself here. You're thinking, oh, well, Wayman, you just want to talk about autism, or you want to talk about severe intellectual disability, okay? No. I'm talking about people who have the greatest needs, all right? Am I still on there? Okay, all right. Because they're doing this filming thing. All right. This is really weird, by the way, looking up here like in a Regal Cinema thing. I wish you were all kind of more like that, but at any rate, okay. If you're working in King and Queen County in Virginia, it's poor. I mean, there's trailers everywhere. Parents are depending on that SSI check constantly, okay? And the kids, when they go to school hungry, all right? Those kids have severe disabilities. They have severe disabilities. I have evolved to the point in my career to thinking that there are a number of people that we work with that are, quote, the most severely disabled, okay? We just don't always, they come in different ways and ways and paths and journeys to us. And we need to pay attention to what kind of support needs they're providing, because, and we'll spend just a little bit more time on this than I really actually have. Thanks for the extra few minutes, Tim. If we don't do a good job of leaning over to help those people who have the greatest needs, then we've missed the boat. We might as well be selling timeshares, okay? We might as well be selling Hondas or whatever, okay? Do something else. There's plenty of other jobs. But, like when Brian Phillips was visiting me, a couple of years ago, we were talking about this, and do you realize Susan Miller? Yes. And I've heard about you, okay? Do you realize that you have the opportunity every day to change somebody's life if you take that power? Or you can stay in your, you can go to a million curriculum committee meetings, you can write surveys, or the kid with a disability that's getting screwed, you can call the disability services offices, raise hell, blame it on Kate, okay? But you have the power. You have the power. Good to see you, dude. And, he's like a dean, he's an important guy. All right. So, of course, WIOA, customized employment. So we should talk about customizing jobs. And of course, because I'm into autism, and we've been doing Project Search for the last 7 or 8 years, randomized clinical trials, and we're showing that works. Of course, you are going to have to watch 4 or 5 minutes of a couple of these videos, all right? So the first one I'm going to show you is of a young man named Nathan, okay? And we're going to do this one, and we're going to go dark, and you're listening to a job coach tell the story.
So Nathan is in his first internship at the lab, and we came to, we decided
Would love
that this
a
would be a
student
good placement,
to get me some
placement
water.
for him after doing
Yeah,
some
thanks.
assessments in the classroom. This was something new that we tried this year. We created different stations in the classroom which highlighted different job skills that we know many of the internships use. Things like sorting, stocking, following isolation precautions and putting on proper protective equipment, data entry, and one that we did, which was very specific, was for sorting and filing slides in the lab. And so Nathan, when he was in the assessment with the lab, he worked extremely quickly and accurately, and he expressed that he really liked that. Nathan is quiet, and he also expressed an interest in wanting to be sedentary when he was working, and so the skills that he showed in the classroom, as well as the interests that he expressed for the environment, they really made sense to go into the lab.
Sure. It's large.
These are made of glass. Is it safe to shake these slides?
No, that's it.
Okay. Are you having trouble right now?
Probably.
Can you stop? And what do you need to do if you're having trouble? So if you need help, what do you say?
Go ahead, go find, say, I need some help with this slide. Yeah. Right here. Yeah, I like him. Do you have a record of report this with him?
I have a
Wow.
That's the one you started on.
Wow, thanks.
And,
But why are there a lot of people?
Was there a lot of paper?
Yeah.
We haven't done these in a while.
Why? Why all?
When we approached the lab, this job was created because there was a real need here. The first time that I went down to the lab, there was a stack of slides, almost truly up to the ceiling, that had not been sorted and filed properly, or that had not been sorted and filed. And they were actually keeping employees over their hours, and so they were ending up paying people overtime to get this work done because it was critical that it get completed, but they didn't have enough people to get the job done. Nathan, I like the way that you finished your slides and then went and got pathology reports.
Yeah.
He has learned how to sort through it and can choose what to discard, and then he takes what's left and files the nursing. As a job coach, when providing instruction to interns, I find that it's really important to give them some time to try to problem solve on their own. So when I see that somebody might not be doing something properly, I really have to remind myself to stop and wait and see if they're going to do it a different way, maybe some different way than I would have told them to do, before interjecting and telling them how to do it properly. Where's your staple remover? Like this, and it's flat. You can fit it underneath there, and then just pull it out. Look, and it's attached to that.
Oh,
Do you want to try on the next one?
Okay.
Have any questions?
Is like this? What kind of? And then,
That was perfect.
okay.
Comfortable with that now?
Yeah.
And the lab is finished. Where do you want to go next?
Let's see. Yeah. Recycling thing?
Okay, you want to try the green team?
Green team.
Cool. We'll remember that.
Oh, great, thank you. So, couple things we want to take from that. By the way, in that second line, I only looked at these slides 50 times, and 2 nights ago realized I had misspelled dual. Okay. A couple things about the PowerPoint. One is, almost every state VR agency is seeing more referrals for persons with autism. So you're going to see that population, all right. Secondly, remember we were just talking about making a difference? I love that little NBC thing at 6:55 every night. Okay, making a difference. That's what you can do. You're either going to be training employment specialists, or you're going to train rehab counselors to empower them to know how to deliver the right services. Or if you're really, really lucky, like me, you're able to go in and watch Nathan do his mid-semester electronic presentation of what he's been doing, and have his father, who it was the first time I met, I watched him literally weep. And he came up to me after and he said, you know, last month was the first time that Nathan actually said something to me in the living room in 17 years. He actually said a word. I'm like, dude, what's going on here? You know, I mean, he's talking here, he's not talking at home. So what we've learned in 7 years of autism research, that the treatment group not only holds jobs at like an 85% rate, the unemployed and I hold, while the treatment as usual in high school is at about 6%. But more importantly, because it's not a shock that if you give them really good intervention, have really good job coaches, that they're going to get jobs. What the shock was that they got better. Kind of like the mental health research with Drake and Bond, they got better. So the SIS, the support intensity scale, has directly showed less support as a function, a direct function of work. Now that's a good thing when 1/3 of your entire treatment group came to you with an aid from special ed one-on-one all the time. You have the job coach spends less and less time. They become more and more independent in other aspects of their life. That's a good thing. And for us in this room, it's making a difference. If I have one theme today, it's make a difference in the lives at least once a month of somebody with a disability. Because you've been given the chance to do that. Don't blow that. Don't sit there and do, things that are so distant from why you got into the field to begin with, okay? Yeah, I'm lecturing you. I'm old, I can lecture you, okay? When you're old, you can lecture and tell people what to do and you can act disinhibited and all that stuff. See, you're not old enough yet, but when you get to be my age...
I'm your age.
No. So, well, wait a minute, let me back up. I need to set this up a minute. Okay, so issue number 2, and we'll go through these other ones a little faster, all right, So, as I'm sitting here, and I started with about 15 or 20 issues, and I broke it down to 6, okay? I'm like, if business doesn't love us, we're dead. I mean, we're in the voc rehab business, right? If we can't get business bought in, well, there's good news here. Business ain't the problem. We're the problem, okay? I mean, it's what I've been saying for years. Generally speaking, if you approach business well and you ask them what they do, how's business? How the new regulations hitting you? Is it going to hurt you that Caribou Coffee's moving into Starbucks territory? I mean, is the new academy that Starbucks has where they're training people, is that hurting you, Caribou Coffee? If you start talking their language, they love you. The first thing you don't want to walk in and says, hey, I got a Down syndrome guy, how about a job, okay? What you want to say is, tell me about your business, okay? Because it's a dual customer deal. It's like, I've got somebody here that I think could help your labor supply, your labor force. And understand, businesses can't grow. Businesses cannot grow without good labor, okay? So they're going to get their good core labor, and then they're going to have old people. They're going to have teenagers. They're going to have legal or illegal immigrants, whatever the case may be, and they're going to have people with disabilities, okay? And we know teenagers are bad, okay? We know old people are good except when it snows, okay? With immigrants, we have no idea what's going to happen. Thank God for Wisconsin with Donald Trump, but we have no idea what's going to happen. So that leaves people with disabilities who rock, okay? I mean, if we get them in the right situation. So let me show you a couple more videos. One of a guy that is in our customized employment for persons with physical disabilities that came out of Children's Hospital. His parents, another group that, couple that was very emotional because they didn't think he was ever going to get any work. This was not a hard job to get. It took a little while to kind of figure out exactly what to do and to get everybody acclimated, but here we go.
Hey, welcome to Ovation Day. Have you been here before? Well, guess what? You have been a good little girl and every surprise for you. all good. Good. Then you go to 6 and write it down. You not check your pocketbook. You're good.
So, the backstory on this is one of my Better Employment Specialists comes in breathlessly to my office to say, I found a job for Kyle. I said, wow, that's fantastic. What did you get? He's going to be a ticket taker. I said, uh-huh. Is that like being a piano tuner if you're blind? I mean, you know, give me something original. And then I stopped and I thought, we'd been on putting in 120 hours looking for a job for this guy. He's never had a job in his life, and who am I to say that his first job is not a good job? And this is going to go to one of my later issues. Spoiler alert. Having a job while you're still in school is a good idea. That's why we made our 5 kids all go to work at 14. They had to get permits. Little permits to go sit in the back in Ponderosa and sweat their butts off, okay? Or wear those crazy costumes at King's Dominion and stuff like that. Work is good. This guy, the real story on this is not him taking tickets and doing a little pound. The real story is the sociological thing of, I wish I had a camera, and you know, we'll go out there again. I wish I'd had a camera on the people who were coming through the line. You know what the response was? Nothing. They didn't give a damn. There was a guy there who talked different than them. He obviously had something, and somebody said, you know, to one of the job coaches, he's got some condition. It's his condition. They didn't know it was cerebral palsy. That was a condition, okay? They didn't care. And if you look at the millennials, if you've got a millennial kid, first of all, I'm sorry, okay? But, you know, secondly, they don't care. A millennial between 15 and 20 will have no problem making fun of somebody else, teasing them. But if it's a kid like Kyle, they get like really PO'd about it. And even the Gen X's are like that, okay? I mean, you know, in our house we have so many kids, they're millennials, Gen X's. I might even have some young baby boomers, I don't know. But I mean, we've got 5. And what I'm saying is the younger ones, the younger they are, the more they just don't care, and they're even supportive, okay? Which is an interesting kind of change, and that is an ADA. I don't know what it is exactly, and it's not just in our household where, you know, disability is a big deal, okay? But so let's take a look at Casey, okay? Because he's an interesting guy too. All right, let's go.
Just like Sean, Casey O'Halloran's work is his road to independence. The high
Can you guys hear that?
His family and friends have afforded Casey the opportunity to face and overcome challenges that most people with Down syndrome would not even be allowed to attempt. Living alone, he travels to and from work independently. Casey demonstrates a level of competence that most wouldn't dream possible for a person with Down syndrome. He lives a life full, with friends and a sense of accomplishment.
If you work, it means you get paid more money. Because if you can live on your own for free, I'm out there, I'm outside. I can do whatever, you know. Work helps you to be independent. To be on your own, you gotta run everything, you know. You gotta learn how to cook, you gotta learn about bills. I've been living on my own like 6 years. And I finally know what life is. Life is nothing but
Got that right. So I wanted you to see Casey because Casey is what our goal is for every young person in the Greater Down Syndrome organization in Richmond. I've gotten real close to that group because, again, one of the things when you get old is, you worry about the weather a lot. You got to go to the store a lot. But you also want to give back if you've had some good things. And so I've been spending a lot more time with individual parents and really listening to them. And they've started this transition boot camp. And it's just kind of neat to see the things that are going on. They've told me they're determined to not let autism take over the world, okay? That they want their voice to be heard too. And Casey is a perfect example of, a young person. And of course, there's all, different challenges involved with different types of Down syndrome, okay? I mean, people are at different levels based on the support they have and stuff. But, I don't know enough about his social life, okay? But he's got the steps going in the right direction. Okay, so let's look at critical issue number 3. I've probably had my name on or written significantly at least 12 to 15 to 18, I don't know, maybe 20 papers through what's known as the Traumatic Brain Injury Model Systems Database, okay? And guess what? Every time we go through that, we always find one incredibly interesting finding. Individuals who are African American or Hispanic do worse than those who are white. What a revelation, okay? And, at a certain point, I'm like, how many more times do I need to study this to figure out that people of color are probably not going to do as well when you look at big numbers as far as going to college, graduating from college, having competitive employment, having more hours of work. So, for all of you people in here who are under 50 or even under 43, okay? And you still want to have a career and be famous like Fong Chan? I mean, you all know that Fong Chan is like, he's not international, he's intergalactical, okay? On Jupiter, they are using his work, okay? So if you want to be like that, come up with an intervention to figure out a way that people of color can do as well as people who are not of color. Do a small pilot. Do 10. Do 15. Do 20. Do 5. Got 5 white, I have 5 black. Okay, same socioeconomic. Now I got 10, I got 20. What's the intervention going to be? How are we going to help the people of color do better? I mean, it's really totally unacceptable. I mean, we're breaking down walls for people that are gay to be married. We're breaking down, we're trying to break down lots of walls, although it seems like we might be going backwards with that recently but Trump alert, okay. The one thing that's very clear to me with the whole minority thing is it really is a community issue. I mean, you really can't, I can't sit here and say to you, oh, well, you are a voc rehab researcher or you're a special ed researcher, just go out and do it yourself. It really is part of the community. But what I'm challenging you on, as I'm challenging you, if you are a researcher, and that would be anybody who's actually watching this that's not in this room, is to think about doing intervention. I think that, excuse me, that whoever comes up with some cool interventions to show that people of color are able to finish college as well or better than people who are white, likewise employment, are going to get funded, okay? Because you just don't see literature that is in that area. We are publishing in the fall about 8 papers that essentially further document and describe exactly what the problem is And those articles will be nice articles, don't get me wrong. But what those articles will really be good for, they'll be good for your introduction section, your justification section. Those articles you could just reference right back to those articles as to why you need to create an intervention that makes a difference. So, of course, we have to go back to looking at some of our own research, again in the autism area, and again in search of about 40% of our entire cohort over the last 8 years. This is the first study. NIDLR has been incredibly supportive in funding. They funded initially an intervention development study, which essentially was for 50 students. And now there's a multi-site replication that triples those numbers. The data are coming in. I can't really say what they are, but it's promising, okay, even with the bigger numbers. But about 40% of the population, because it's the greater Richmond area and also Norfolk, is African American. So here we go. Here's another one.
I make a transformer. 5. Yes, I'm ready.
Damien had an internship in the inpatient pharmacy. He was responsible for checking all of the drugs that are individually packed and checking the expiration dates. And he also was responsible for cleaning the shelves and just really keeping it very organized in the department. This is something that they often needed a tech to do, but it really wasn't getting done as frequently as it probably should have been.
There are 6 runs to go, right?
This turned into a job because as the internship was coming to a close, the department really didn't see how they could continue without having him there to complete this job for them, because it really is critical. And the job really evolved. In addition to checking the expiration dates, Damien also learned how to restock drugs, and then he learned how to make deliveries to the outpatient infusion center. This kind of came about because Damien was getting done with his work quickly, and he has a lot of energy, and that energy was being released in the department, which was causing a distraction to his coworkers. He has a tendency to script loudly, and he was actually getting on coworkers' computers and finding things to fill his own time with, which were not productive and were distracting to the department. His supervisors wanted to continue to have him working there, and so they contacted his job coach to see what we could do to continue to use his assets, but also to help out the department. And so that's how the delivery started. The outpatient infusion center is attached to the hospital, and this is where patients are going to receive chemotherapy and other cancer treatments. Thank you for doing it. When we're waiting in this room, how should it wait?
By the door.
What's our volume?
Volume down. Volume down. I wait for Jessica in there.
Damien, it's okay to speak in a regular volume.
She's in the room.
We just can't shout things like, "I'm finished." Does that make sense?
Nope. That makes sense. I keep the volume down. I keep the voice down.
How about your body?
Keep my body still. I knock by the door. It's another 6. This run is number 6. Not chemo.
At the time, a volunteer was responsible for making the deliveries to the outpatient infusion center from the pharmacy, or if a volunteer wasn't there, one of the pharmacists or the techs had to do it. It really wasn't done on a strict schedule, and patients were having to wait several hours to get the treatment. The inpatient pharmacy and the outpatient infusion center decided to collaborate and create this job for Damien so that he was helping their department to run more efficiently to provide better care to the patients who were waiting for treatment.
I finish. Number 6 is finished. There's
working for almost 5 years, and we do continue to provide him with social supports at work. At this point, we are no longer implementing a self-monitoring plan and working on it together 4 times throughout the day. His department has been trained on how to enforce the rules, and Damien is at the point now where he has written his own plan, and he knows what the expectations are, and it's written clearly for him by himself.
Where to next, Stephen? Where to next? They're both. Yes, they're both. What time is it? 10:30, please. 10:30. The answer is 10:30. Run number 7.
We do continue to communicate regularly with the departments, and they know that they're able to contact us if there is a situation that becomes larger than what they feel that they're able to handle, or that they need additional support. Then they always call us, and we come and provide immediate support to the department and the employee.
So the way the service delivery system works, for you're probably wondering about Alyssa, we have a number of people like Alyssa. Almost all of them have been trained in the rehab counseling department on a part-time basis, and they get some are working on their BCBA, some are she's got a positive behavior support certificate. Our partners are the Department of Aging and Rehab Services that helps provide milestone support at the 10-month internships, okay? The research is paid for by NIDLR, all right? And then we have the schools that are coming in. So it's truly, an interagency collaboration of funding, okay? And it's, I think, one of the few programs that is essentially doing research with just individuals with autism. Now, the reason I wanted to show this guy is because, just a quick little sidebar, every time I go over there, which is, at the hospitals, I'll go anywhere from 3 to 4 times, every other month, just to see what's going on, to catch up what's, any issues or problems. And invariably, I'll go to the cafeteria because they have really good food there. And he's like, he's got like 3 trays of food, okay? And there's a heart surgeon walking around staring at him, and our leading heart surgeon in Richmond is a vegan, okay? And this guy's got fried chicken and cheeseburgers and everything right on there, eating that, okay? You realize that he's in, I don't know how many of you know people who have had cancer and have had to sit in those rooms and get infusions, okay? Falling knows this. My youngest son at 21 came down with rheumatoid arthritis. How's that for bad luck? The high school quarterback, the high school, point guard, and all of a sudden he's got rheumatoid arthritis. And, nothing's working, so they're finally on the 3rd biologic and getting these infusions. And here comes my friend Damien in the room, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, always going sociological here, I'm thinking, this is actually really bad for Blake, but it's really kind of cool that all of the people that are in St. Mary's hospitals and the infusion centers are actually seeing individuals with autism coming in and providing, some supports for them. Well, the Blake story has a bad news and a good news, okay? The bad news is that it only really hit 2 of his joints, and it ate up one of his hips, so he lost the hip, all right? But he has an artificial hip, and if he doesn't abuse it, he'll probably have it for 25 or 30 years. The good news is that he got married. He's got a great wife. I just saw him a little while ago, a few days ago, and he's, completely pain-free, takes a couple shots a month, and thank God he wasn't born in 1980 or 1985, because RA is flat out ugly, okay? But they didn't, they've got the biologics now. Okay, sidebar on that. Just goes to show, you never know when disability is going to hit you, okay? You can be rich, you can be poor. Another sidebar. So, no, I better not tell that sidebar. Okay, so let's continue, all right. So issue number 4. So it turns out that increasingly vocational rehabilitation counselors are being asked to do more than ever with less money. What a surprise, okay? There's more disability groups. There's more things that they need to know how to do. There's more laws that they have to be aware of. So even if they're not, let's say it's just WIOA, they still need to know about the Fair Labor Standards Act, okay? And on top of that, parents are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, okay? And so they have greater demands. So I think a major issue for us in our rehab counselor education stuff is what's in our curriculum. What is it they need to know? What is it that they need to know? We are a vendor at VCU. We're one of 100 vendors, meaning that DARS will pay us to provide services. So I've learned quite a large amount from some of our job coaches who became rehab counselors or people who we work with in a partnership. And the questions, I mean, it just seems to me that our rehab counselors are frequently just kind of left out there, okay? They're doing the best they can, but they're not really been empowered, all right? And so, you know, if I'm a rehab counselor, you know, I want to know about what is it that I need to know about the clients, who are the most important ones, what vendors should I use? I mean, if you have clients that are constantly coming through the door, you virtually have to triage and make a decision about which ones are going to get the services the most. Who's going to come first and second and third? And I've never been a voc rehab counselor, but what I can tell you is the ones that seem to do the best is they keep very much up to date on what the real research is, not what the, you know, what's the newest thing in town, but, you know, they manage to get either fact sheets or, you know, some of the things that, you know, like an ICI. I was determined not to mention their name because they beat us in every grant competition, okay? But they are so darn good, okay? I mean, University of Massachusetts, Boston, and I really do love those people. I don't know if Susan Foley's in this room, you're not, but I mean, she's incredible. All right, so I mean, all right, I'm giving it up to them, all right? The fact of the matter is they put out great fact sheets, they do great work. And that's the information, that's kind of like, comes under the heading of news you can use if you're a rehab counselor making decisions. You're under pressure to increase quality employment closures. I get that, but I just told you in issue number 1 that working with the most severely disabled is the more important, but you don't get credit for that because going way back into the 80s, I can remember, I don't know if any of you remember the name Jack Noble, okay? I mean, he was, you know, there were some of the old guard back in the early 80s and mid 80s when I was talking to those folks, talked about weighted closures. And I still think it's an interesting variable. I mean, if you're spending a lot of time with the Damons and you're spending money on those people and the Nathans, should they be counted the same as somebody that you don't have to spend very much time for? You know, I think it's above my pay grade, but I know that for voc rehab to really be all it can be, that it needs to lean down and help those that need the most help and pull them up. But at the same time, the rehab counselor is not Superman or Superwoman either. You know, you got customized employment, support employment, confusion about that. Internships are not just search, they're start on success. You know, the next frontier is probably going to be apprenticeships. You know, again, if I'm under 43 or 45 years old and I decide I don't want to be famous, knowing interventions for people of color, then I might want to study the efficacy of apprenticeships on, you know, employment outcomes. All right. I mean, if you notice a thread coming about interventions with me, then, you know, that's where we're going to kind of end up with this conversation. But so let's look at issue number 5, all right? So we look at individuals who are deaf, blind, both, or are hearing impaired, or are visually impaired, or have significant physical disabilities. Many, if not most, are underemployed. We know more about how to help individuals, and we're not able to completely unleash that yet. That is an issue for 2016 to 2020. When I look at what we can do to help this group of individuals, and this is true for persons with autism too, because I mean, they're, you know, with the iPhone technology, the handhelds, it's clear that their learning mechanisms, their ability to communicate is much, much better using that than trying to talk back and forth like we're talking or I'm talking to you, okay? So it's not really a surprise that technology is important, okay? I mean, look at 2006 and 2007. I mean, it's only been 7 or 8 years. Look at the stuff that's happened. I mean, Apple, Google, Facebook, Twitter, bionics, robotics. You might think, God, how did he know that? Because I read an article by Thomas Friedman and I stole it, okay? But I thought, wow, last 7 or 8 years. And I mean, I think I was wrong. I mean, I said email was going to be a fad in 1993, and I mean, I would love to take a picture of all of you right now, but this doesn't do real good, okay? I was trying to take a picture of the shower in my hotel room because my wife has been after me to have a modern shower. And I gave up. I realized I couldn't get it in this little thing here. So I said, okay, forget it. We don't need a shower anyways. We'll just stay with what we got, you know. I have 2 more of those at home, just in case the technology runs out. I'm learning, though, that what happens is that for some reason my texts aren't getting through. And I don't know if it's because, I don't know, has Apple put up a deal where they won't take flip phone texts or something? I don't know, but anyway. So you say, why don't I do that? Because I have trouble doing that back and forth. You know, it always seems like, I find it to be clumsy. But I was, you've heard about the fusion of innovation. I'm on the far tail, okay? I'm always the last guy, all right? But I have great respect for the power of technology. And all the people that I work with at the center where I work, they would all tell you that I greatly respect technology. I just don't get it, all right? I mean, you're looking at a guy who was 3% on the aptitude test for the draft induction in 1972. And then I broke my leg playing softball, so I didn't go to Vietnam. But otherwise, I was going to Vietnam. My number was 15. But when they did the mechanical aptitude thing, I mean, the guy shook his head. It was done by RIC in Chicago. I went down to there. I said, 3%? Nobody can be that low. I blame it all on my father. He wouldn't trust me with a screwdriver. But anyway, okay. Are we ready, basically, to take the technology and go to business? Okay, because really, I mean, this is really, if you think about it, this is what the NIH grants do for pharmacy. They hook up with startups, and the startups get bought by Pfizer or Merck. And NIDILRR has clearly been trying to do that with a small business innovation program, and there are clear efforts. But I mean, NIDILRR is only one agency, a relatively small agency. What I would say an issue is, and I don't have the answer here, I just know that these technologies are so powerful that individuals with hearing impairment, visual impairment, physical disabilities probably can be really significantly raised up and have better careers. And to me, this is an issue, okay? And so we're talking about serious partnerships. So maybe if this isn't my first main issue, this is my last big issue. It is not often at all that you come across a set of behaviors that you can do in school that are almost infallible. They're almost infallible in giving you an outcome that you want. And here's the behavior. Getting a kid a job. Now, we don't know whether it's the minimum is 6 months or 3 months or 9 months, but we know that if we get kids jobs, real work, real pay, where they have to get a 1099, okay, that those kids have a much greater likelihood. I mean, somebody ran off a percentage. I wish I'd gotten that quote, but Eric Carter, I mean, a number of us who've been in the field, I mean, Dave Tess is sitting there, he's another, he's clearly international, he's not intergalactical yet, okay? But you go listen to Dave Tess if you get a chance later this morning. He knows all the transition predictor research. But I mean, so a lot of us knew kind of anecdotally, but if you went to the 2011, 2012 Eric Carter stuff when he was going through the NLTS2 data, and then our group, he looked at it with severe disabilities and I think intellectual disabilities. And then in 2014, our group working with Transcend looked at, again, wave 5, all disabilities, and found it like 0001. If kids had jobs, they had jobs after. I mean, it was like a no-brainer, which means that if you have pre-employment transition services money in your state from WIOA, you should be investing it in training teachers how to get people jobs, or instructional aides, or actually trying to get those kids jobs before they leave school while they're still on their entitlement. My big shtick when I talk to parents is maximize that entitlement and get that kid a job. Now, I'd like it to be during the day part of the time, but I'll take after school. Seasonal, summer, I mean, once again, Eric Carter, okay, I mean, guy's another one, he's another junior Mike Waymeyer, brilliant guy. And he's so nice too. I mean, how can you be so nice and so smart, okay? I mean, he's not arrogant. I mean, he's spiritual, he's everything, and I understand, somebody told me last night he's got a great wife too. I mean, he's a great guy, all right? And everything he writes, I find to be excellent work, all right? He has bought into this, we bought into it. Gary Sipperstein, another really smart guy from Massachusetts, did a study doing a Gallup poll. So the data are compelling. The only thing that remains to be done is an RCT, where some kids get work, access to work, and some don't, and we measure the outcome. That is not one that I would do because it is so obvious to me already with the power of the causality, power of the relationships, I should say. So, what we're shooting for is, that lovely term that Nick Chertow, who's retired now, Rich Luking, who's retired now, came up with in 2008 called seamless transition. And seamless transition is a dream, isn't it, Dale? Mm-hmm. It's a dream to VR people because it means the pressure's off them. When the kid graduates and leaves school, the kid's already got a job, that first job. So Kyle has that job already. So now the voc rehab counselor can take a deep breath and potentially get a much better situation for that person, okay? But they don't have to, we don't have an immediate panic. We don't have a sitting at home period of time. Okay, so let's take a look at this.
A student at Highland Park High School is making an impact in his part-time job. Nick Jones has to make sure every car in the dealership's lot is perfect. Fox Sports knows that does Nick's work is really making a big impression.
One thing that sets 18-year-old Nick Jones apart from many is how happy he is to go to work.
Nick has a PhD in social skills.
Nick also has Down syndrome and sometimes struggles with words.
Are you gonna clean the wetness thing today?
Yep. Otherwise, he's just one of the guys at Park City's Ford in Dallas.
This was a big step for Nick to have this opportunity and experience being a contributing member in his community.
For the past year, the Highland Park senior has worked Monday through Friday after school, checking for unlocked doors. Wiping the glass. The best part is that this is his dream job near his dream car, the Ford Mustang. He gets excited every time he sees one. His mother says it hasn't been easy.
Back in the days, they say, and thinking that he didn't have much of a future because that's what you're told. That's what the doctors tell you. That's what everyone around you tells you.
The personal growth goes both ways.
We see Nick as part of the team. Every day he does it with a smile and with good energy.
It isn't about charity. Park City's Ford says it sees business value in Nick's work ethic and encourages other businesses to be open-minded. Nick's responsibilities have grown along the way. Now he requires little, if any, supervision, and his work is in high demand. The dealership would like to hire him Saturdays too. But Nick's not sure. He loves his job, but he also likes a bit of golf on Saturdays too.
And Nicky has proved everyone wrong. And he continues to do that every day. Sometimes he proves me wrong, and I'm his mom.
The latest employment numbers show 627,000 working-age Texans have cognitive disabilities. That ranges from Down syndrome and autism to less severe conditions such as attention deficit disorder. 75% of people in Texas with cognitive disabilities are not employed, a number Nick's family would like to see go down. Steve?
Well, Scott, nice story. Thank you very much for sharing.
627,000 in Texas, okay? 75% unemployed. Of course, the stats are all over the place there, but we know it's not real good. I wanted to show that one because I'm mad that I never thought of that job. That is a cool little job, and it's one that you could probably get. It's a perfect after-school job, you know, with a Saturday kicker to it for kids that are 16, 18, 19, 20 years old potentially, okay? You know, we want jobs where the people we work with are out in the public and are seen, okay? And, you know, what a perfect situation there. Okay, so let's kind of wind it up with, you know, what I guess I would call the big three, all right? First, the role of evidence-based research. If you're intergalactical, you have to be, you know, you have to have your picture on the PowerPoint. So we've got B.F. Skinner, education is what survives, what has been learned has been forgotten, okay? And in the next session, you'll be able to hear from the man on the right, okay? He'll be speaking. To be serious here for a moment, of course, the reason we're here today is to talk about research, evidence-based research. We're at a point in the field where everything that we do, we should be asking, does it have research undergirding what we're doing? And again, I think this has been a number of years now, but Neidler gets kudos for breaking the levels of research, not unlike NIH with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, you know, into discovery and goal, intervention, management, development, intervention, efficacy, and scale up. Just getting us to pay attention to those different stages and the evolution of knowledge is very important, because with the internet now, we can very quickly find things like, oh, customized employment, oh, self-employment, oh, support employment, oh, motivational interviewing, oh, a form of addiction counseling, okay? Oh, transition planning. What's the research that says transition planning leads to competitive employment? Okay, I mean, there's some research there. Dave will speak to that, all right? But then we have to say, so the first question we have to ask is, what is the evidence? What is the evidence? The second thing we have to ask is, what is the quality of the evidence? Putting on my other job, my quote medical school side hat, if you look at, if somebody has atrial fibrillation, about 3 million people have that, it's a very erratic rhythm. Or if somebody has a stroke, which is about the third major cause of disability in the United States, if you are taken in to the ER, they immediately have a pathway, a medical pathway of things that are supposed to happen. All right, so if you have what appears to be a heart attack, you get to go to the front of the line in ER. And they immediately begin doing things based on what research has told them. And what they've done is they've mined databases to find the information that were important, and then they've tested those in studies that are of varying level of, rigor, okay? We are in the early stages of doing that in our field. We went to inclusion so quickly 20 years ago when we talked about mainstreaming. I think it's a good thing. You think it's a good thing. God thinks it's a good thing. But do we really know how much better kids get because they're included? Well, I think that we have research now increasing that is supporting that. But that was my earlier point when I was talking about the kids with autism that have been working for a number of years, and now we can track that they don't require as much one-on-one support. The number of job coach hours, all that reduces. That's the brilliance of Bob Drake and the whole IPS model. They basically took the support employment ideas, built it into a series of researchable factors, if you will, and then they tracked the outcomes, and they not only got the good competitive employment outcomes through the rapid placement. It was not a shock to me about that. What was a shock was that classic 1999 Archives of General Psychiatry paper, where they go through, they were working with Washington, D.C. homeless schizophrenics, and they were reducing the number of people who were having to go back to the hospital, not drinking anymore. I mean, that research was a pathway for what community treatment centers should be doing in the United States, okay? And it's expensive to do that research. It's not cheap and it takes time. That's the foundation. Without that evidence-based research, how do we really know that what we're doing every day? If you're a rehab counselor and you've got a quarterly budget and you're putting the money out, you're just looking at the outcomes. But you should also be looking to see, is this vendor doing something that is based on research? Likewise with the special ed classroom. Is that man or woman in that classroom writing an IEP that is disparate, bunches of different goals, or does it form something that has a meaningful outcome, almost like a portfolio? I mean, the old Tom Bellamy, Barbara Wilcox 1984 book, they talked about, they were way ahead of the game. They talked about portfolio of skills. Not silos, but portfolios of things that integrated. I learned here more years ago than I want to mention from Lou Brown about the ecological domains of work, community, home, recreation. Those all have sub-skills in there that people need to learn, and it should be based on the research. We have so much more research now. I mean, you look at the Belva Collins people, he's publishing research constantly from the University of Kentucky, okay? So, at the end of the day here, the question, and let's see, this is perfect, I have 3 more minutes. Are we ready as researchers to develop meaningful interventions that will empirically prove what works for better employment outcomes? Or, I love this statement, if David was getting royalties for every time I said this, okay. David Test, sitting in the middle row there, okay. Great guy, classic triple threat, probably played basketball decent one day, okay. His term was admire the problem. We admire the problem. Oh my goodness, look what we discovered. We just find more of the same. We get our publications, and I do it too. When you need a publication, you go into you send out a survey. Oh, what a surprise! Employers told me what the barriers were. Okay, or you go into a database and you find, what a surprise! African Americans don't work as much as whites. Huh? What a shock! Somebody will publish it somewhere. Okay, if you're younger and you want to be famous, come up with interventions that change lives. So, the role of the professional development is the way. Now, the woman on the right is sitting there, right next to Dave Rosenthal, very famous, okay? And that's Kate Anderson, and she is a knowledge translation person, a training person, and she understands professional development a lot. So, you know, when you look at all the research that's being done, doesn't make, even if you have the greatest interventions in the world, if you can't train people how to do it, you're dead. Because that's where we are right now. That is where we are right now. We know more about what to do. We don't need to have 75% of the people unemployed with cognitive disabilities. We know much more. But our staff, the woman you saw up there, Alyssa, who was doing the talking, she's smart. But she wasn't 8 years ago. She's just gotten really, really good. I mean, I would put her with anybody with severe autism. I mean, she's really, really good. We don't have enough people like that. And so the professional development, you know, whether it's online courses, better pre-service, summer institutes, whatever. That's the second shoe to fall. And the last one, now I have to tell you, I had Shaka Smart in there at one time, but he left and we'll go to Texas from VCU, and so I wouldn't put him in. So then I put Coach K in, and I thought last week, I cannot have Coach K in when I'm going to my alma mater. Okay, so Bo Ryan is a leader that I have in there, okay? I refuse to put Aaron Rodgers in there because I'm a longtime Bear fan, okay? And I hate Aaron Rodgers, okay? So there's no way he could be in my slide, all right? Justin Dart, I don't know how many of you got to meet him. An incredible man. When he first became RSA commissioner, went to every state to meet every commissioner. People thought he was crazy, all right? I mean, he had the big tent. He was his values and themes are so clear, okay? The role of the active leadership. But even if you have great leaders, there's got to be an ignition. And I'll leave you with this. You remember, some of you, that old TV show, I think the guy's name was Howard Beale, it was Network, and he just goes crazy on TV because he's so frustrated, and he starts saying, I'm so mad I'm not going to take it anymore. Well, probably we need way more people with disabilities and their parents even more to say, I'm mad and I'm not going to take it anymore because you guys know how to do this. You're just not training enough staff. You're not redirecting enough money into doing this. You know, you're not writing enough Medicaid waivers that are appropriate for our kids. I mean, we've got all these things that are out there that we know how to do. We just need to do them. So I'm just about officially done with the keynote. I want to thank you for your attention. I didn't see anybody reading USA Today, so I really appreciate that. And I hope you're going to have a great conference. And thank you, Phong, for inviting me, and Tim. It was really my privilege to be here. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.